Hello, my name is Miss Lika and so happy to see you again at this lesson.
Of course, I'm Mr. Zach and I'm your English teacher too. This is the 15th lesson and welcome back to class. So Lika, what do we have here?
So these are my favorite paintings and there is also a sculpture.
Really? They're very beautiful. I like them a lot.
Yes, thank you.
And for our today's topic is art for General English A2.
დღევანდელი ჩვენი გაკვეთილის თემა ალბათ მივხვდით კიდევაც ხელოვნება. ზოგადი ინგლისური დონე A2.
So for today's agenda, like always, we will start with the vocabulary and then roll right on to reading comprehension. And then right in the middle, we have the grammar. And lastly, we have the summing up and homework.
ტრადიციულად შეგახსენებთ ჩვენი გაკვეთილის განრიგს, რომელიც უცვლელია. ჯერ გავეცნობით ლექსიკას, შემდეგ გვექნება წაკითხulis გააზრება თავის სავარჯიშოებთან ერთად, გრამატიკა, სავარჯიშოებს გავაკეთებთ, შევაჯამებთ და მოგცემთ საინტერესო საშინაო დავალებას.
So let's go right on to our first section, the vocabulary. And you can see on the screen here all of the new words that we will be learning today. So now let's go through them one by one. So our first word is artist, and that is someone who paints or draws or makes art in general. And it is a noun.
Artist, ხატვარი, არსებითი სახელი.
And one more time, artist.
Artist.
And our next word is painting, noun. And what is that, Lika?
So painting is ნახატი, არსებითი სახელი.
And one more time,
Painting.
And our next word is portrait, noun. And a portrait is when an artist paints a person.
Portrait, პორტრეტი, არსებითი სახელი.
And one more time,
Portrait.
And our next word is sculpture, noun. And what is that, Lika?
So sculpture is ქანდაკება, არსებითი სახელი.
And one more time,
Sculpture.
And our next word is pottery, noun. And that is when you make something like a sculpture or a little thing or a bowl out of clay.
So pottery, თიხის ჭურჭელი, არსებითი სახელი.
And one more time,
Pottery. Ah.
And next is creative, adjective. And can you please explain that for us?
Okay, the person is creative when he has new ideas, interesting ideas. Creative, შემოქმედებითი, ზეცართავი სახელი.
And one more time,
Creative.
And our next word is performing, adjective. And performing is when you act something out like dance or singing or acting.
Good. Performing, საშემსრულებლო, ზეცართავი სახელი.
And one more time, performing. And next we have visual, adjective. So Lika, what do you think that is?
Visual art, for example, can be painting or making some sculptures. So visual, this is გარეგნული, ვიზუალური, ზეცართავი სახელი.
And let's say it one more time, visual.
And this is the last word for today, right?
It is. So now let's go on to our first vocabulary activity and choose the correct answer.
ლექსიკის პირველ დავალებაში უნდა აირჩიოთ სწორი პასუხი.
So Lika, for number 1, Van Gogh was a very A, creative, or B, visual painter. What do you think it could be?
Okay, I know the answer, and I hope also the audience has the answer. So this is creative.
Exactly right, creative. So number 2, A, portrait, or B, performing. Arts are those forms of art in which individual people participate separately or together. Which one could that be?
Oh, I know the answer. You guess also the word. This is performing.
No, exactly right, performing.
Yes, what the third one? The artists finally completed their last, can be visual or paintings.
Oh, of course, it's paintings. They like to paint a lot, and they sometimes need to finish.
Great. I have a good artist or visual memory.
I know it's visual memory, so I have a good visual memory.
Yes, it really helps us.
It does. And now for the second vocabulary activity, match the pictures with the following words: sculpture, pottery, artist, portrait.
ზაკმა ახლა ჩამოთვალა სიტყვები, რომელიც უნდა შეუსაბამოდ ფოტოებს.
So for the first picture, what does it look like to you all? It looks like there's a hand making something out of clay. Oh, that's right, it's pottery. Great job. And the next picture, you can use pottery to make these kinds of things, and this kind of thing is sculpture.
And the third one, I see kind of painting, and this is, yes, you are right, this is portrait, good job. And the last one, this is a person who paints. Yes, this is the last word, artist.
Great job, Lika and everyone. So now let's move on to our reading comprehension. And you could see here, Lika, that there are 3 kinds of art. So what do you think the text will be about from this?
Of course, it can be about visual arts, about literary arts, and performing arts.
Oh, exactly. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's start.
So there are 3 main fields of art: visual arts, including paintings and sculptures; literary arts, connected to literature; and performing arts, music, theater, and dance. Each field has a very long and interesting history. For example, ancient Greeks, old Greeks, were very famous for their sculptures. They also enjoyed painting on pottery and ceramics. Roman paintings were also very interesting as they were done directly on the walls of rich Romans. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the first written story about the historical figure who lived between 2700 and 2500 BC.
Performing arts were also part of the ancient world, sometimes connected to religious ceremonies. Actors in Greek used masks to perform different heroes. Visual arts have different periods of its development, from ancient time to modern. The world-famous painters of Renaissance were Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Vincent van Gogh was a post-impressionist painter. His portraits of himself, self-portraits, are his well-known paintings. Pablo Picasso's work, Three Musicians, is a classic example of cubism. Graffiti is one of the parts of modern visual arts. It helps people express their creative ideas on walls of different public places.
So now let's move on to our first reading comprehension task and answer the questions.
ახლა უნდა გავაკეთოთ კითხვის პირველი დავალება. ვფიქრობ, რომ საინტერესო იყო ეს ტექსტი თქვენთვის და უნდა უპასუხოთ შეკითხვებს.
So Lika, for the first question, how many main types of art are there? Can you name them?
Of course, I remember, and the audience remembers also well. So there are 3 main types of arts: performing arts, visual arts, and literary arts.
Oh, exactly right. Great job, Lika. And what about for number 2? Name the first written story about a historical figure.
And let's wait for the answer.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the Epic of Gilgamesh, right?
Oh, exactly right. Great job.
Now, Zach, can you name 2 famous painters for the Renaissance?
Oh, I remember from the text that there was 2 Italian painters. There was Michelangelo and there was Leonardo da Vinci. 2 very, very famous painters.
Great. And the last question, who painted 3 musicians?
Oh, I know a very famous painter from Spain. His name was Pablo Picasso, and he painted the 3 musicians.
Great, well done.
And now let's go on to our second reading activity and complete the sentences from the text.
ამ დავალებაში უნდა დაასრულო წინადადებები ტექსტის მიხედვით.
So, Lika, for the first one, ancient Greeks were famous for their what?
I think it was sculptures, right?
Oh, exactly
Good.
right. And what about number 2? The Epic of Gilgamesh is about the historical figure who lived between what times?
So this is 2700
Yeah.
2500 BC.
Oh, exactly. Great job.
Good. Now the third one I see, yeah? Performing art was related to what was it related?
I remember it was religious ceremonies.
Great. Fourth, actors in Greece used something on their faces for performing the different heroes.
Oh, I know. So they look different, and so they can act the part, they use masks.
Great, good job. And the last one, something you have to guess the word, helps people to express their creative ideas on the walls of public places.
Oh, I know. You can see this all over Tbilisi and many other cities around the world. It's graffiti.
Good job.
Oh, thank you. So now let's go on to our grammar section. So, Lika, for the first picture, what do you see?
So this is a wall painting, as I say, and it's modern visual art.
Oh, exactly.
And what about the second one?
So I know this is a sculpture, and the Greeks were famous for their sculptures.
Yes.
So I know that the first picture is in present tense, and the second picture is in past tense.
Great.
So for our grammar section, we will be discussing past simple tense to talk about the things that happened and finished in the past. So Van Gogh painted over 30 self-portraits between the years 1886 and 1889. So, do you know, is the action in the past? Yes, it is, because Van Gogh lived before. And is the action finished? Yes, because he finished the paintings. And do we know when it happened? Yes, because it says the years.
გრამატიკის სექციაში დღეს განვიხილავთ წარსულ მარტივ დროს, რომელიც გამოიყენება იმოქმედების გამოსახატავად, რომელიც მოხდა და დასრულდა წარსულში. ზაკმა გვითხრა მაგალითი ვან გოგის შესახებ. ვან გოგმა დახატა 30-ზე მეტი პორტრეტი და კონკრეტული წლები იყო ნახსენები. ეს არის დასრულებული მოქმედება, ანუ 1886-1889 წლებში. და შევამოწმოთ, რამდენად კარგად გაიგეთ ეს ახსნილი მასალა. ეს მოქმედება წარსულში მოხდა? რა თქმა უნდა, პასუხი არის დიახ. მეორე კითხვა გვაქვს, არის თუ არა დასრულებული ეს მოქმედება? პასუხი აქაც გვაქვს დიახ. და მესამე კითხვა, ვიცით თუ არა კონკრეტულად როდის მოხდა ეს მოქმედება, როდის დასრულდა? აქაც გვაქვს პასუხი დიახ, რადგან გვქონდა კონკრეტული წლები მითითებული 1886, 1889.
So for the past simple tense, we have the verb to be. For the affirmative, I was, you were, he, she, it was, we were, they were. And please take notice that for the singular first person and for singular third person, we use was. And for the others, we use were. And for the interrogative, was he a painter? So for this, to make it a question, you must move the verb to be to the beginning of the sentence. And for the answers, yes, he was, no, he wasn't. And for the negative, they were not, weren't sculptors. So please take notice that you must add the negative not to after the verb to be. And we have here the short and long forms.
ახლა განვიხილავთ ზნას to be წარსულ მარტივ დროში. საკმაოდ ჩამოგვითვალა. I was, you were, he, she, it was, we were, they were. აქ ყურადღება უნდა მივაქციოთ ერთ რაღაცას. Was გამოიყენება მხოლოდ მხოლობითი რიცხვის პირველ და მესამე პირთან. დანარჩენ შემთხვევაში ვახსენეთ were. კი ბატონო. გვაქვს კიდევ ასევე განხილული მაგალითი კითხვითი ფორმისთვის, თუ ბიზნესის კითხვითი ფორმისთვის და ამ შემთხვევაში გვქონდა მაგალითი was he a painter და როგორც ხედავთ, was გადადის წინადადების დასაწყისში. Was he a painter? და მოკლე პასუხებისთვის ვიყენებთ yes, he was, no, he wasn't. უარყოფითი ფორმისთვის ზაკმა ახსენა მაგალითი they were not sculptures. აქ ემატება not to be ზმნას. They were not. და ასევე გვაქვს მოკლე ფორმა. Were not sculptures.
So now for the regular verbs, you can add ed, such as paint, painted, or just d for live, lived, or ied for study, studied. And for the affirmative, I, you, he, she, it, we, they painted. And for the interrogative, did we paint? And please take notice, for a question, you do not have to add an ending. And for an example, for the answers, yes, we did, no, we didn't. And for the negative, they did not, didn't paint. And please take notice that you add the negative not to the end of the auxiliary verb did.
ახლა განვიხილავთ წესიერ ზმნებს წარსული მარტივი დროისთვის. მაგალითისთვის საკმა ახსენა სიტყვა paint, რომელსაც ემატება ed, შემდეგ live, რომელსაც ემატება მხოლოდ d, live, lived და study, რომელსაც დაემატა ied, studied. და ამ შემთხვევაში ყურადღება მიაქციეთ, რომ y-ს აღარ წერთ. ზაკმა ასევე აგვიხსნა, როგორ ვარწამოვებთ წარსული მარტივი დროის მტკიცებით, კითხვით და უარყოფით ფორმას. მაგალითისთვის ვქონდა ზმნა paint. ანუ ზმნა უცვლელია ყველა პირთან, ყველა რიცხვში, ორივე რიცხვში painted. I painted, you painted და ასე შემდეგ. კითხვითი ფორმისთვის აუცილებლად ჭირდება დამხმარე ზმნა did, რომელიც დგას წინადადების დასაწყისში. მაგალითისთვის ქონდა did we paint და ზაკმა გაამახვილა ყურადღება, რომ painted, ანუ ed აღარ გამოიყენება კითხვით ფორმაში. So, did we paint? და გვაქვს მოკლე პასუხები. Yes, we did. No, we didn't. და უარყოფითი ფორმისთვისაც ზაკმა ახსენა მოკლე და ვრცელი ფორმები, მაგალითისთვის ქონდა they did not or they didn't paint.
And now for the time expressions with the past simple tense. So for example, in ancient times, in 2700 BC, in the 16th century, last year, 3 weeks ago, yesterday, a Georgian painter, Pyrrhus Mani, was born in 1862 and died in 1918. For an example for a sentence. So now let's move on to our first grammar exercise and put the sentences into past simple tense.
გრამატიკის პირველ დავალებაში უნდა ჩასვათ წინადადება წარსულ მარტივ დროში.
So Lika, for the first one, the artist paints in 1909 the portrait.
And I'm sorry, we should pay also attention to the order of the words, right?
Oh, exactly, right?
Yes.
So can you please do the first one for me?
Okay, I see. The artist painted the portrait in 1909.
Oh, great job, great example. And number two, they last week like these creative paintings.
Oh, here I see this is interrogative, right?
It is.
So we need an auxiliary verb, did. So the sentence is, did they like these creative paintings last week?
Oh, that was a great question. And number three, I last month study how to make sculptures.
This is affirmative, so I should add IED to study, and I'm not writing why. And the sentence will be, I studied how to make sculptures last month.
Oh, great.
Now the next slide. You like the visual effects last Sunday. So this is interrogative, be attentive.
Yeah, definitely. I must add the auxiliary verb did. So I know that we must put that auxiliary verb to the beginning of the sentence. So, did you like the visual effects last Sunday?
Great, good job. And the fifth one, yesterday I not go. So this is negative sentence, to see new paintings.
Oh, great. And I know I must add the negative not to the end of a verb. In this case, did, to make it didn't. So the whole sentence is, yesterday I didn't go to see new paintings.
Good. And the last one, last year he not paint any paintings.
Oh, of course, this is negative again, and I must add the new verb did. So the whole sentence is, last year he didn't paint any paintings.
Good. I hope you are following us quite well.
Oh, I hope so too. And for our next grammar activity, find and correct the mistakes.
გრამატიკის ამ დავალებისთვის თქვენ უნდა იყოთ მასწავლებლები. იპოვოთ შეცდომა და რა თქმა უნდა შეასწოროთ.
Okay, and Lika, can we do the first one?
Of course.
So, I enjoy painting yesterday. So, what could be wrong with this sentence?
So, I see this is wrong tense. So we should add ed to the verb enjoy, and it will be I enjoyed painting.
Oh, great job. And number 2, last year I live in a small town. So how do we make that past simple tense?
Okay, we should add d now to the verb live, and it will be last year I lived in a small town.
Oh, great job again, Lika. And number 3, when my grandparents are younger, they want to become artists. So this sentence doesn't really make sense. So can you change it?
Of course, I'm sure you have an answer, right? And here we should correct to be. Yes, here should be not are, but were. So we're younger. And the next one, want. Of course, want is a mistake. It should be they wanted to become, right?
Oh, exactly. Wonderful.
Now, next one. In old times, the Greeks are famous for their sculptures.
So I know that this sentence is not simple past tense because we have are instead of were. So we must change the sentence to, in old times, the Greeks were famous for their sculptures.
Well done. So the next one, in ancient times, people use mask for performing.
Yeah. So I know that we must change use to used and add just the D. So in ancient times, people used masks for performing.
Okay, and the last one, I hope you also are following quite well. I paint a portrait of my friend when I am 10.
So I know that there's 2 things wrong with this sentence, that we must change paint to painted and add the ed to the end, and we must change am to was to make it more past tense. So the whole sentence is, I painted a portrait of my friend when I was 10.
Excellent.
So now we are coming to the end of the entire lesson, and you could see here all of the words that we went through today. So now let's go through them one by one more time. So first is artist.
მხატვარი,
Next, painting,
ნახატი,
portrait,
პორტრეტი,
sculpture,
ქანდაკება,
pottery,
თიხის ჭურჭელი,
creative,
შემოქმედებითი,
visual,
ვიზუალური, გარეგნული,
and performing.
საშემსრულებლო.
And we also we had our grammar section where we talked about the past simple tense.
So we visited a museum of art last week.
Awesome. And now we are at our very last section, the homework. And please write a short paragraph about your favorite artist and one of his or her paintings.
საშინაო დავალებისთვის გვინდა გთხოვოთ, რომ დაწეროთ მოკლე აბზაცი თქვენი საყვარელი მხატვრის და მისი ერთ-ერთი ნახატის შესახებ.
So Lika, can you give us an example of what we could do?
Of course, I can talk about Pirosmani. Okay? Nico Pirosmani is my favorite painter. He created lots of paintings about Georgian people and culture. He lived more than 100 years ago and worked hard to survive. Here is one of his favorite paintings, Actress Margarita. As we know, Pirosmani loved the actress very much. She worked as a singer and the painter delivered flowers to her. The painting was created in 1909.
Great example, Lika.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone else is now into art as much as we are.
Yes, I hope so.
And please send your homework to the address on the screen.
გთხოვთ გამოგზავნოთ თქვენი საშინაო დავალება ეკრანზე მითითებულ მისამართზე.
And sadly, we don't have time. I think the lesson is over. Let's say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Thank you.